People come and go so quickly here.
No, I don't know many people.
I know too many people. I guess we're both lonely.
Milk was a bad choice.
You crying? No. Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
I love this show. It's the Al Travis Show. We've got Senator Susan Kent on. What I find funny, sidebar note, real quick before you get going. As we play those little movie clips throughout the day, every now and again you'll see one that hits that guest. And you are actually quoting it as we're going on. It's like, oh, she loved that movie. You kind of get to know people just by what movies they know by word. And that was so funny.
And I'm one of those people, I never remember movie quotes. I feel like there's a gender problem there because men are really good at it and a lot of women are not. But I was just lip syncing. There's no crying in baseball.
So just funny for me. I get to watch what people like, and I enjoy that.
Well, and I just have to say, there's something, because you and I were chatting before we came on, and I've just got a lot going on right now. So I'm a little stressed, a little wired tight, and
but you don't share why, so that's not, you can't even bring it up because you don't.
It's just a lot of little, Woodbury Newsnet stuff and family travel or family coming to visit, that kind. It's just mundane stuff. It's just a lot of it all at once. Anyway, but that little movie clip comes on, and it always it's like a meditation. It's like I feel the peace coming over me.
Isn't there fun movies like that? And Tom Hanks has a lot of. My wife is a Hanks lover. I mean, is she?
Yeah.
But it is movies that you can just go back and say, okay, that puts me in my happy place, and I can live with that. But
He's put me in front of a showing of You've Got Mail any day, and I am.
Oh my God!
Happiest. It's the best. It's the best one.
Okay. I don't mind Tom Hanks, but my wife is in love, and I don't. Anyway, okay. Now we'll agree to disagree, and we'll probably do that a lot today. But I was really excited. I mean, I know you're on every Wednesday, but I was really excited that you were coming on today. Because what is still, I think, the top news story across the country is the shooting of Charlie Kirk, the assassination. And what I find interesting is I think there's a reason it hits me a little. Everybody has their own reasons, right? It hits me a little differently as a guy who goes out there and tries to talk his mind every day. But when I look at you, and I mean this with all that's gone on in Minnesota, I mean this with all due respect, you were a politician. You were in that game for a long time. And then we saw what happened with the Hortmans and the Hoffmans. And then the school shooting, which is all of us who've ever had a child. And then the Kirk thing, where you're now, after leaving politics, sit on this show with me every flipping week, and I give you credit for that, putting yourself out there as well. I can only imagine the unique perspective you have on all of this, because it's a gut punch every week now, right? I mean, I left. That's why I was so happy to talk with you. Give me your, you know what I'm saying? I can talk this all day long.
I'm so glad to hear that you've had an extreme emotional roller coaster over the past few months. Let's hear how happy you are about that.
Well, it isn't happy, but you're on a talk show to talk about it. This had to hit you differently. Can you give me, we talked about Hortmans when that happened. We talked about schooling. Here we are with Kirk. How did that hit you? A person who gives her opinion on the radio every week.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I can't exactly remember. I think I was in a meeting or something. I was completely unplugged for a couple of hours. Mm-hmm. And so there were like that, and then I can't even remember what the other bad thing was that happened in the exact same.
There was Colorado, a kid shot two people in Colorado. The kids didn't die. The shooter did, but the kids didn't. But it was another shooting.
School shoot. So, I mean, I literally, and I posted this. I was just like, been offline for a couple of hours and come back to the news that Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, and there was another school shooting. And I literally tweeted, I was like, it's too much and it has to stop. That is because to your point, it is all of these things, right? And, you and I've thought about you often during this past week. You just universally, whatever it is, said political violence is never acceptable, because once you go there, once there's any allowance for that, you've given up the whole game of we the people, and self-governance, right? Because then it's no longer how we're going to resolve this in some sort of reasonable way. And like, I've had some conversations with people recently, talking about like what was the turnout going to be like in the special election last night for Melissa Hortman's seat. And things about candidate recruitment. Is this new climate? Is it hurting? Are people not stepping up to run, right? And the point being, there's so many factors right now, and now the safety of oneself and one's family weighing in. There was a big conversation I saw on one of the cable channels this morning with Chuck Schumer about do members of Congress, what are we going to do about security for them? Because if we try to provide real serious security for them around the clock, that's a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
Never mind if we try to do it for the thousands and thousands of state legislators around the country.
Yeah.
And without it, who runs? I mean, already I feel like our situation in elected office has gotten so perverse. The constant barrage from social media and 24-hour cable news and blah 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 blah. There's so many disincentives for what we would consider normal people to step up and serve, and all of this just makes that worse. And so I will just say, to sort of wrap it up with a bow, my overall reaction was terrible, wrong. It was horrible that what happened to Charlie Kirk. Full stop, no quibbling about that. And this climate that we're in is dangerous for a lot individually, for individuals, and then also, for our overall American system. And I'm really troubled by that.
That's why I like having you on the program. And I would agree with you 100% on the politics of it. Charlie Kirk wasn't a politician. He talked politics, things, but he wasn't running for an office of any kind. And I tried to go to this, who would be on your side? And I'm going to throw Reverend Sharpton, right? I don't necessarily agree with a lot he says. He gets a bully pulpit. He says things. Yep. But, okay, so I tune him out. He's not going to be able to vote on anything that I live in dear. Not that it's okay to shoot people who vote for things. But my point is, this was strictly...
And that's the point, Al.
Right? Well, right there. Yeah, but mine is this was strictly a First Amendment at its best. A guy with a microphone, and when we stopped it, the reason it was the first one is we're supposed to be able to go back and forth like you and I do. It struck me just really weird because I'm sitting here going, how many nut jobs in Minnesota are there that just look at what you and I do and say, I can't believe her, or I can't believe him, and it's like that's what's going to crush this whole thing, and I'm really quite concerned about it.
And it's an interesting, distinction because, yes, he's not a politician in the sense that he doesn't run for office. Yeah. But he's a professional politician in the sense that he does politics for a living. He just does it, as a media personality, right? Yeah. And so you can certainly think of other media personalities.
He's political. I'm not saying he wasn't political.
No. I'm just saying that as a way for all of us to think about it, right? I mean, and I want to be clear, I'm not saying this just about Charlie Kirk. I think this is true. I think I'm going to compliment you here, right? And I read a very nice thing that our good friend Shannon said about you, that you literally intentionally and thoughtfully create a space to do this very thing that should hopefully be healthy, right? To cause people to think about things a slightly different way doesn't mean they're going to change their mind, but even if you're going to go, I actually agree with myself more than I used to because I heard more about the other side. That's a fair takeaway, right?
Absolutely.
But at least, there is the role modeling of a respectful way to do it. And but there are too many people, and I've said this a lot, who are making a lot of money in the outrage industry. And that outrage industry far too often dehumanizes other human beings, which puts them in a vulnerable place. Right. And then it's so focused on, the heat and the energy and the clicks and the money and the profit. And the victims in all of this are citizens and our way of government. So.
All right. Couple things on that. Shannon Watson, for folks who don't know, she comes on. She does Majority in the Middle. I don't know how big her following is, but she sent out a text email-y thing. And it did bring up this show. And I want to just share this because this is how great a gal she is. I really do like her. We did the show, Tuesday, whatever day that before that came out.
Yep.
And we did this. We talked about Charlie Kirk and had the conversation. And I get a call from her, literally, how you doing now? Because I said, and I'll talk about the next part the Thursday, the day after, which struck my heart so weird. And she just, you're going to be fine. You're doing a good thing. And I'm like, well, thank you. I am fine. I just don't like what I'm seeing in America today. And then she put that thing out, and it listed other programs that do, similar stuff. And it was very well written. It was very nice. She didn't need to do it, but I think she was worried about me for a minute. I'm disappointed in my country currently. If I can be disappointed for a little while, I think it'll come back. We'll see how this works. I want to talk about it on the other side. And what we're going to talk about is the next day. I went out and smoked a cigar in the garage. I had gotten a bunch of stuff done at work. I'm like, good. I went out and I turned X on, and I watched one video of a kid singing, dancing, doing a thing in their car. And I presume X then algorithm to me, and it was one after the next, and I don't know. I should have probably stopped being a full-grown adult. But 25 minutes later, I was so sad in my heart that happened. I want to talk about where we're at just with that, the internet and what they can do and how they work. We'll talk about that after this with Senator Susan Kent, who had no idea we're going to talk about this stuff when we started. Get more after this.
Tired of one-sided media and divisive noise drowning out your conservative values? Take back the conversation with Braver Angels. Join a grassroots movement to restore civility and find common ground without compromising your principles. As a conservative, your voice matters. Share your perspective on issues like immigration and public health in Red Blue workshops and help rebuild trust in our great nation. Be a leader in depolarizing America. Sign up for free at mn.braverangels.org. Braver Angels, where conservatives, liberals, and independents unite for a stronger republic.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
The Al Travis Show, the last place you can go and hear all sides. Respectful, thoughtful, and grateful.
We give Senator Susan Kent the last 5 minutes to solve the issues with the internet. I believe it is our generation's fault. We invented this thing because it's going to make everything, phones in your pocket, you're going to be able to connect, you're going to know the world's all, it was always all wonderful. And no one thought how bad it could get on the other side, that they're going to use it for evil, child porn, and all the rest. And now this. And what I'm thinking is, I'm as egotistical as any human I know, always have been. But I never think to myself, I'm really mad. I'm really happy. I should take a video of me in my car or my bathroom, by the way, which is the only two places these lunatics do this stuff, and take a video of myself all angry or ticked or happy, and then send it out to the rest of the world.
Right.
Who in the world never told these children, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, but let alone happy about a guy's death that you probably never even met? It was crazy. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puff stuff, and I think it's the internet. These kids want clicks. They want, good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter. Like it, share it, dislike it. I get clicks, and now I'm popular. We got to stop it. Your thoughts?
So I want to start by saying one very quick thing, because I don't want to get into this, but we all need to be really careful about the tit for tatness of this, because that's where a huge part of this problem is, right? I mean, that I've heard, and I actually had a pretty contentious conversation on the set of Almanac on Friday night about who's more at fault, right? I mean, you know, oh, it's the libs, oh, it's the Republicans, oh, it's this or that. And we can have a substantive conversation about that involves actual information. But to your point, everybody needs to STFU, as the kids say, right?
Yes. Thank you. As I'm going in my head. Okay, now I know. Yeah. Well put, Senator. Yes. Thank you. You're so young.
You know, and that was sort of my point. And I will say this. I mean, to me, one of the greatest disappointments in all of this was that, you know, right after it happened, before we had any clue of who the shooter was or anything about a motive, any information, Donald Trump in the Oval Office just came out after a whole group of people, which includes me, you know, because I'm a Democrat, and you know, said sort of the most vile things about us because we are at fault for that. I'm partly at fault for that, you know, and it's not helpful is all I'm going to say about that.
No, I agree.
You know, and I'm just to add into this, you know, I think there is a difference between what leaders do, elected leaders, and that goes for, you know, all levels of government. I heard a few people say, Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, basically said the exact same thing in a congressional hearing yesterday. You know, we need to stop. We need to all take a breath before we opine on something we don't know anything about, right? But you know, in terms of what the internet does in terms of giving people platforms and permission, and in many ways, you know, and there are big businesses making a lot of money off of people's outrage and their posting content and all of that. And I'll just say, my dad, who was a self-described Luddite, he didn't have email, like where he worked assigned him an email, but he didn't ever use it. I offered to send him a picture of his only grandbaby the night the grandbaby was born. I would email it to a family friend who would share it with him. And he refused because he believed this was such a problem. So he didn't even really understand the internet, but he understood that this opening up of the floodgates was not going to be healthy. And he's been gone 7 years. And boy, howdy, I kind of glad he went in here to say it.
And mine is, so how do we pull this back? I think our generation, because we didn't have it at one time, so we can live without it. We know there's the ability to do that. I don't know if these kids do. I think this is a kid movement. They have to say, you put something stupid out there, I don't like it, I don't dislike it, I let it die on the vine, because if these kids start getting unliked or whatever they call it, you know, and instead of being 25,000 listeners that are 50, if it starts going the other way and they're less popular, they'll stop doing the crazy, I think, you know, because I can't imagine they getting anything else out of it than a click, and that makes them happy, and you got to take it away.
Right.
Take away
I mean, again, it's the incentives, and the incentives. We are in an attention economy, and there are big businesses making a lot of money off my attention and your attention and our kids' attention. And there's a lot of information coming out about this shooter that it might not even actually be ideological per se, but just so deeply into some of this internet culture that radicalized him kind of without any real ideology.
Warning, he wasn't even in school, I think a quarter or something. He went away as a kid and came back different. Well, we can talk about that. The other thing, we can discuss it if you care to on the other side or not. Although we got plenty of stuff to do here in Minnesota. It was a tough week. I think we can all agree on that. I don't know where the country goes from here. I know I've got my fingers crossed. I'm praying that we figure this thing out sooner than later. We don't need any more of it. What else do we need? You know, the shootings here in this state, the president got shot a year ago, the Charlie Kirk, it's like at some point, if we don't say, whoa, we're down a slope we can't come back. Is that fair? I mean, holy smokes.
That's why we need leaders from all sides to stand up and push 100%. For that. Yeah.
100%. We got to go. We'll be back after this. We got lots of stuff in Minnesota. I don't know if it's news. I mean, it isn't, but it is. He's in. Walz is in. Well, I mean, don't color me shocked, but we'll talk about that on the other side right after this on the Al Travis Show.